everyone. Today I'm going to discuss the essay of Michael Dessertu, The Walking and the City. So, Dessertu emphasizes the significance of walking as a practice that shapes and defines urban space, challenging the top-down vision of urban management. We have a six parts here since this essay is just a short essay. So, I uh, separated the every part and we have six parts. So the part one of the Surtees essay, he examined how individuals experience the city on a daily basis, particularly through the act of walking. He contrasted this lived experience with conceptualized city of planners and administrators. Walking embodies the city with a unique logic of rhetoric that allows individuals to appropriate and personalize urban space. And in walking, it makes the people do their own. It also means nga ginabuhat ra nila ang mga buhaton every day. Like it has its own story and moni ang nagpa-make sa city nga alive. And this practice subverts the rigid plans imposed by city officials. He also states the contrast of everyday life to poetry, highlighting its eccentric value, which differs from the perspective nature of official plans. This shows how important everyday life is and how people make their own choices, even when powerful forces try to control them. So even the higher ups, the authority or the government, so sa usaw nila nagplano tanan, di siya po na nila makontrol ang mga tao by creating their own stories or how to live their own life. And the part two of the essay is the Manhattan observation. So from the top of the World Trade Center, the Two looks at New York City and sees a busy mix of tall buildings, dreams, poverty, different cultures and styles of architecture, unlike older cities like Rome. So you compare Rome o New York. And he says that New York always changes, getting rid of the old way and make way for the new. And it's a city full of opposites that's always changing. And this part not only observes the different cultures that emerges, the poverty and the people. Sa ating part, differentiates niya ang cities sa New York ug sa Rome. And he noticed daw nga ang New York grabe ang kabaguhan. Grabe pag-embrace sa new trends. Siguro what he meant was the style of clothing or the way of how they have fun, or it could be kung unsa na lang ang changes sa mga tao nga namayo before sa New York and sa karon. And different na daw kayo. And alisa na tanan sa new or sa mga bago. Unlike kuno sa Rome, which preserve their historical fabric, although na any mga changes sa Rome, as much as possible they can to keep their history and ancient structures alive. So sa ingani, they just layered it to having many museums para mag-coexist ang history o ang contemporary life. And there's sort two shows us that there is a difference between the city that planners imagine and the city where people actually live. He looks at how people walk through the city every day and how they take back and change the meaning of city spaces. They don't just follow the plans, they make this city their own. And this celebrates how rich and interesting everyday life is, as people find their own paths and stories within the city's structure. And in this part, True explores the difference between how urban planners imagine the city and how people actually experience it. And the planned city, we have here the voyeurs. So it is the city of maps and blueprints, a rational and organized space designed from above. These stories such as this view offers a sense of control and comprehensive knowledge. However, it remains a theoretical representation detached from the lived realities of the people who live in the city. It's a simulacrum, a copy of unclear original. And we have an example imagine looking down on a city from a building. You see a net layout like a map. This Surdo calls these the voyeurs. Voyeur's view, and it gives a feeling of control and knowledge, but it's also distance and misses the reality of daily life. Like ang giplano sa authorities kay very unrealistic and bisag unsaon nila napugos to control the society or the people and bisag unsa nila pagtanaw ang tao. And we also have here the Live City, which is lived by the workers. This is the city created by the everyday practices of its residents. And particularly through walking, these walkers create their own paths and meanings within the planned structure. Their knowledge is embodied and practical, not visual or abstract. These practices, often blind and uncoordinated, form a manifold story that escapes the planner's totalizing vision. And the Live City is a migrational space, so constantly shifting and reshaping itself within the fixed framework. Now imagine walking through the city streets. You're surrounded by people, sounds, and unexpected events. These are to call these people's walkers. They experience the city in a more personal and chaotic way. They create the city through character, through their everyday actions. And they start to set that the true character of the city lies not in its planned structure, but in the everyday practices that subvert and reimagine that structure. The walkers create a dynamic and ever-evolving urban landscape that cannot be fully captured by any top representation. And next is the city, and we have here the plans versus reality. This sort of talks about how we think about cities and how they really are. It's like there's the city that people plan, and then there's the city that people actually live in. The people who plan cities want to make them perfect, to try get rid of anything bad and make everything organized. This sort two says that they do three main things. First is cleaning up. They want to get rid of anything messy or dirty, like pollution, or even people they don't like. Second, control everything. They try to use science to make sure people do what they're supposed to do. And third, make it one thing. They want the city to be like one big thing that they can control, like a government. But the Sir 2 says this doesn't really work. You can't just plan a city and expect everyone to follow the rules. People are going to do their own thing, and that's what makes a city interesting. So in the end, there's the city that's planned, and there's the real city where people live. So this is this city that the government is trying to plan and control, and there's a city people are doing their the things that they do in their everyday life, and that's what they call the people. Uh, this is what they call the real city. And then in the part 4, this part of reading talks about what happens when the idea of a perfectly planned city starts to fall apart. Instead of thinking the city is doomed, the writer says we should look at how people still live their lives and do their own thing, even when the planner's ideas don't work. The main idea is that even if the city planners try to control everything, people will always find ways to make the city their own. They might not follow all the rules, but they're not necessarily doing anything wrong. They're just finding ways to live their lives in the city, and that's what makes the city interesting. Sartre also mentions Foucault, who talked about how power works in society. Foucault said that even small things like the way a school are organized can have a big impact on how people behave. So Michelle is asking, why are the small things that people do in the city that change how it works? And we had the part 5. This part of the essay tackles about walking is a fundamental part of what makes a city a city. It is not just getting from place to place, but about how people experience and create space around them. You just can't count footsteps because each one is unique. People feel and experience the ground differently. Surtu said they cannot be counted because each unit has a qualitative character, a style of tactile apprehension and kinesthetic appropriation. Every step is a personal experience. It's about how you touch the ground, how you move your body, and how you sense the space around you. Tactile apprehension means how you understand the world through touch, and kinesthetic appropriation means how you make space your own through movement. Each step is unique, and all these steps together wave the city into a living, breathing thing. And in the last part of his essay, these are two such as this: walking is more than just movement, it's a language like writing. It has style and rhetoric shaping our paths and reflecting who we are. Street names influences us creating a fuzzy geography of meanings. However, these meanings fade as numbers replace names, emptying the city of its history. Walking becomes a way to reclaim the city, finding lost stories and creating our own. The city is a sieve, with gaps where we invent paths from leftovers, fragments of the past. Walking helps us resist the erasure of meaning and make the city our own, one step at a time. And overall, the Walking in the City and Michael Desert 2 nagpasabot nga ang mga atong paglakaw-lakaw sa syudad kada adlaw dili lang na pag-agtong sa lain-laing lugar. Nagisgot ni nga mga plan I'm sorry ni ang mga nagplano sa syudad. Gusto nila kontrolon ang tanan, pero ang tinuod pinaagi sa paglakaw-lakaw mo ni hinuon ang atong gihimo ang syudad nga tuag yun. Para ni Sir 2 ang paglakaw daw parehas rag nagbasa og nagsulat. Ang mataglakaw lakang nato murag nagasulti og storya ay himo sa syudad nga atong gikalakaran. Dili lang ta basta-basta magsunod sa kung unsa ang giplano, mangitatag atong kaugalingong agianan. And ang paglakaw usa ka pamaagi para musukol sa mga plano o para himuon ang syudad nga mas personal and mas interesting. Mo ni ang pinaagi nga makakita ta kagawasan o kahulugan sa usa ka lugar nga dapat unta kontrolado. Hindi lang kay ang mga building ang syudad, apil pod ang atong mga ginabuhat o giunsa nato paglakaw are. And walking is the best way to resist the planners and make the city personal. It's how we find freedom and meaning in a place that's supposed to be controlled. The city isn't just buildings, it's what we do and how we walk through it. And that is all for my report